The Angels 2014. The Angels world champions.
Oh, and first pitch crushing.
Hey, welcome into another episode of the Halos in the Infield with your host, Todd Fox, and the other host of the show.
Howdy, y'all.
It's who?
Texas. Hell, stupid. What's the difference?
Right.
That episode of SpongeBob?
Gotta love SpongeBob, man.
What am I? Stupid? No, I'm Texas.
It's Texas Fernando.
Yeah. Now, I say the accent even though I'm not currently in Texas, but yes, this is the first time where you and I are doing the podcast together while I'm a native Texan. I am currently in Chicago. This isn't actually my view, but I am in the city of Chicago.
Well, what we got to do, at least you don't have the smokestacks back there, but what we got to do is we got to get you a cowboy hat. That's for sure.
Next episode, I'll have the smokestacks.
All right, there
because
you go.
I go to New York - New Jersey on Sunday for all of next week. So
Well, you can smell that coming around the corner, right?
yeah, you can smell it from now through the screen.
Exactly.
Ooh, it smells like asshole.
Well, we're here to talk some Angels baseball and get you caught up a little bit. Also,
Speaking of asshole,
yeah, Artie, no,
Squid.
Yeah, we're gonna get you caught up on all things Angels here and talk about what are we gonna talk about today, Fernando?
So we'll talk a little bit about the Astros series. We are currently recording in the middle of Game 3, so we'll kind of be a little outdated on that. But we're going to talk about the first two games. We're going to talk about the fact that this team only wins when Shohei Ohtani's pitching. We'll probably talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani's trade value, and if that's something the Angels need to explore. Probably talk about what I've missed over the last 2 weeks.
Okay, that sounds good.
So
and
let's start with that. No, go ahead before I jump in.
You're good.
Okay, I was going to say, so I told Dominic this. So over the last 2 weeks, obviously I was getting married. I was moving my family to Texas. So I didn't watch much Angels baseball during those 2 weeks. I guess fortunate enough for me. So let me ask you this. So over the last 2 weeks and some change that I missed, I just missed a bunch of crappy baseball, no situational hitting, bad bullpen pitching, and just bad pitching overall, unless Shohei Ohtani was pitching, right?
Yeah, you pretty much got a lot of Halo honks saying when we did have a bad pitching performance, like a blown save or maybe a guy giving up 4 or 5 runs, you got them saying it's the pitching's fault. We got to fire Wise. And yet when the 90% of the other games were the fact that we could not scratch across 2 hits before or after the 6th inning, you're only scoring 1 run, you're leaving 10 or 12 guys on base, you're striking out double digits. They're still not clamoring for the firing of Serrano and Reed. Everyone's still like, well, the pitching. How is it the pitching's fault if you can't score runs, dude? I mean, you just can't blame him. And to me, it's like I'm more along the lines of just so fed up with half of the fan base and the way that Perry this week, to also let you know what happened, he fell on the sword twice when asked about the hitting coaches, and he literally said, hey, it's the players I present to the coaches. It's my fault. I got the wrong. So you're literally telling your team, yeah, I got the wrong guys, man. I got the wrong guys in place, and it's not the coach's fault. And I believe the hitting has, the hitters being lazy and not following, not having the proper direction. It's 50-50. And so that whole thing right there has been very frustrating the last couple of weeks, because I would have loved for Perry to come out and blast his coaches. I mean, if you're willing to fire the actual manager, you should be able to blast the other coaches too. I don't know why they're so Teflon right now.
Yeah, so, let me address a couple things. So we've now gotten to marinate on this Joe Maddon firing for a couple of weeks, almost a month now.
About that, yeah.
Okay, so did Joe Maddon deserve to get fired?
Yes.
Yes. I don't think there's any doubt on that.
Yeah.
Was it Joe Maddon's fault the Angels lost 14 straight games? Absolutely not.
No.
Was it his reason that the Angels are the worst team in baseball since, what was it, like May 24th or something?
Mm-hmm.
No. That it was not his fault that, he kind of started that trend.
Directly, yeah, it's not his fault.
Yeah. But what I will say is it's definitely the coaching. But here's the thing. What's it easier to do? Fire a manager or fire, 3 guys, 4 guys?
Yeah.
You would have had to have fired, both hitting instructors or the hitting coach and hitting instructor. I don't exactly know what their titles are. I just know it's, Reed and Sereno. I think Sereno's the primary hitting coach, right? And then Jeremy Reed is the assistant.
No, it's actually the other way around.
Okay.
Reed took over, I think 2 years ago. Sereno was lead. He's assistant to Reed, and then they have a third guy, base something or other. I never
base
seen
god.
it.
Okay.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. something cuck, but he's
oh
the
god,
background.
Canceled. Canceled. Couldn't even make it 7 minutes.
I know. I get canceled every episode.
Yeah, right.
But no, those three guys in theory. I mean, look, I get what you're saying, but maybe Perry didn't have his guys to bring in, and I just have this overwhelming feeling that he's just gonna clean freaking house next year. And but I would have done it. I would have thrown my coaches under the bus, is what I'm saying. Because
yeah. I mean, why wouldn't he clean house? Because here's the thing. There are some people already saying on Twitter, oh, his job's on the line. Perry's job is not on the line right now. Mm-hmm. What I will say is, let's just say he cleans house. If he cleans house and next year is, the same song and dance, like it might be, then I think he's on the hot seat. Then I say, you know what? I think he might lose his job. I don't think he's going to have as long of a leash as Billy Epler did. Because Billy Epler had 5 years?
About that, yeah. Yeah, he played out almost his whole contract.
Let's see, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21?
Yeah, 6 years almost.
Yeah, because 21 was Perry.
I just feel that, like, it's harder to fire a GM and start with a GM, because the philosophy, everything starts from the top to bottom with the GM, with the leadership of the owner.
Yep.
So I think it's really hard for them to just go through another GM. So I don't think, like, I totally agree. I actually think Perry's got 2 more years if this thing doesn't work. I mean, it'd have to be a really egregious next year for them to fire him. But right now, I think he needs to bring in his guys. His guys that he trusts to run this team, and then another year of his players. And that way there's no, okay, me and Joe didn't get along. He didn't follow my because if you remember, the quote from Joe was, hey, I like analytics, but I don't like it shoved down my throat. That was his direct quote. So it's really evident to see that Joe and his guys have a different way of teaching. And when Perry's bringing in his guys who are heavy on the analytics and maybe need to be coached a certain way, and they're butting heads, it's easy to see why Joe was fired. It's just not easy to see why Nevin hasn't really flipped the script hitting wise to get these guys better, because I see the same situational hitting. I see the same at bats. Nothing's really changed that way.
Yeah. So for the record, I looked it up. We were talking. Permanasian has 2 more years under contract after this season.
Okay.
So you're probably right. I don't see why they wouldn't let him at least ride out the contract. I know Phil Nevin is closer to Perry's guy than Joe Madden is. And they can deny it all they want. I'm pretty sure. I kind of knew that was the reason why Phil Nevin got hired in the first place. I don't know why they put him at third base coach instead of, moving him to base coach position. Because typically, a bench coach, bench coach is typically like your second string manager, if you will. You're the backup manager. You know what I mean? That's why when a lot of managers get thrown out, bench coach steps in. So I kind of thought he would have had a higher end role, but obviously because of the way the dynamic was, Phil Nevin got moved to third base.
Yeah, he seemed to be the guy because we thought about disciplinary and things like that. I just was thinking it was going to be someone a little bit more analytical, someone more nuanced, because Phil Nevin reminds me just of another old school guy. He reminds me of a guy that would have been good managing the Angels in the early 2000s. Yeah. But just, we have to see what happens. I think that unfortunately this season, the way it started, we were thinking playoffs, we were thinking all the good things, and the way that we've gone 12-33 in the last 45 games, has really thrown this season upside down to now we're thinking, are we going to be sellers, or we're leaning that way? And then we're thinking, what's going to happen in the offseason, the coaching. I mean, geez, Louise, man. I mean, you didn't catch much in those 2 weeks because you were so busy, but a lot did happen, but it was just a lot of negativity.
Yeah, well, on some podcasts, not many. We're gonna be okay. And then you had Dodger Lodge, Rogelio over there.
Oh yeah, he's like, hey.
Yeah, hey, don't worry, guys. We're gonna make the playoffs because Artie, the farting party, is gonna get us there.
Don't worry, Ohtani will pitch us to a victory.
And Artie in the meantime is going, Squid. Let's give Squid a 10-year contract. Let's Squid give him a 10-year deal. Can he pitch? Squid's a pitcher today.
He's gonna make his own squid bourbon.
Two-way squid.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so good time.
So, exactly. I mean, like, here's the other thing, bro. I mean, you're seeing these quick fixes too. Like they've gone out, they went and got an Atlanta Braves pitcher that he knew through the system, that former first-round pick. They pick up Jonathan VR. They're trying to plug some holes. They're trying to get guys like Squid, like you mentioned, out of the lineup. They're trying to, groom Stefanik, play McKinnon more. They're trying to do some things, but man, you're sitting there now 8 games out. You got 5 or 6 teams ahead of you. It's hard to jump that many teams, and they've got the pitching to do it, but my God, they still can't score over 3 runs, dude.
Yeah, I mean, is this not typical Angels since 2015? Let's get a couple of these stopgap guys to try to stop the bleeding a little bit. Oh, we need to replace Josh Hamilton. No problem. David DeJesus, Shane Victorino.
The Flying Hawaiian.
Yeah, right. God, what was that guy's name who played left field? I forgot his first name, but his last name was Nova.
Oh, I know who it is.
He was like a journeyman,
He'd been with Oakland and a few other teams. Jonathan Nova or something.
I don't know. But yeah, exactly. Basura. Absolute trash. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they got lucky with guys like Parker Bridwell, Blake Parker.
Mm-hmm.
I think David Hernandez might have been a dumpster dive move. Hansel Robles. You know what I mean? So we've seen some success come out of the dumpster diving.
Carlos Perez for about a year. He was
yeah, didn't he hit a walk-off home run, like his first major league hit or whatever? At least his first hit with the Angels.
Something like that. I mean, yeah, they've done a lot of that dumpster diving. They've done a lot of like, hey man, you gotta let's get a Rule 5 guy. Let's get a guy up, that just got designated for assignment.
Yeah. You said Carlos Perez, and I immediately thought of Ace, our listener, Ace. I remember seeing her at a game, like during peak Carlos Perez. She bought a Carlos Perez shirt, and I don't know if she'd ever admit it, but I vividly remember her wearing a Perez shirt. And I was like, why the hell do they sell this?
She was like, oh, he's gonna be around for a long time.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I bought half the jerseys that I have.
Oh yeah.
And now all my Pujols, Upton, Simmons, Calhouns are all just pajama shirts. I have like 50 pajama shirts.
Pretty much, man. That's what sucks when you buy the player. Like I after a while I started just buying the jersey or customizing it to myself because I'm like, dude, it's all about the name on the front. At least I know I'm not going nowhere. That the other players are gonna go.
Well, and that's the saddest part. For like a long period of time, like we were consistent. I had a Calhoun jersey, a Simmons jersey, and I didn't have to worry about those guys leaving because the Angels kept their talent.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, you don't know. We're talking about Shohei Ohtani potentially on the move. And, if I'm really honest with myself, the Angels won't trade Ohtani. Should they? That's a topic for later today. But they won't. They won't. They don't want to win.
That's a great question and a great thing to talk about when we do, because that is, man, it's heavy because he's one of those guys. Like, look, we saw how it weighed on the fans of Calhoun and Angel fans.
Yep.
They were torn down the middle. You had the people that just absolutely loved him, and even when the people that didn't love him, they didn't want to see him go.
Yeah,
and they didn't want to see him play anywhere else. So that's a guy who had a decent decent career with the Angels, was a fan favorite, but imagine like a Shohei Ohtani. That'd be like a Tim Salmon leaving like in his prime. You know what I mean? Like you don't think of that because, like you said, back in the day, Disney days, early Artie days, we held on to our players.
Yep. I'm trying to look up what like the Calhoun contract is right now. So he's getting $5.2 million with the Rangers. Now that's not bad. I would gladly pay Calhoun $5.2 million, and I say that like it's my money, but it's not. Yeah, it's Artie's money.
Well, if you had Artie's money, I'm pretty sure you'd spend it a lot better than he does. So you don't have to worry about that.
Well, that's the thing. So, it's really easy to say that when we're sitting here on a podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can critique everything.
Mm-hmm.
We were first in line to praise the organization for getting good, established bullpen arms. The Angels won the bullpen offseason this year.
They did.
On paper, they got the best. They had one of the best bullpens in baseball. Angels being the Angels, though, however, the moves haven't materialized. Completely haven't. But real quick, so Cole Calhoun for $5.2 million has a .02 WAR. A .2 WAR, and he's got a .232 batting average with 11 home runs.
Sounds like a typical Calhoun year. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I've never I had my reservations about him. I have come on many times saying that I wasn't a fan, in the long term because I felt he could do so much better. But I think a shift takes away at least 30 points of that average because he does pull the ball an awful lot. But when he's on, he's on. He can carry a team. We've seen him carry the Rangers for a couple weeks this year. He killed us when we played them, and he did that when he was here in Anaheim. And one thing that I could never knock him for was his go through a wall basically defense, and his arm was just fantastic. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I do miss his defense in right field. Like, I'll never forget, I was at that game, Dodgers-Angels, where it looked like the Dodgers were going to tie it or win it. I think they were going to tie it, and Calhoun threw him out at home, and then him and Trout were celebrating in center field. That was one of the greatest games I've been to, dude.
I think that was Cody Bellinger running home, and he was out by he wasn't even halfway home.
Yeah. It's funny because
just kind of gave up.
The Dodger fans were they went completely quiet, dude. All you heard was Angel fans. It was so awesome.
Man, I love going to the Freeway Series because those games are electric. I remember the year when Cameron Maybin struck out to win the game. And yes, I said that correctly. He struck out, got on the knee in frustration, and Yasmani Grandal dropped the ball, and he threw it into right field, and Cameron Maybin just walked to first base. Ben Revere scored, and Cameron Maybin struck out to win the game. Dodger fans were beside themselves.
Well, this rivalry, with the Dodgers upcoming here, it is like you said. It's if when the Dodgers were bad in the early 2000s, because a lot of people can't remember that, but when they were bad in the early 2000s, we were their World Series. And so as time's gone on, as after 2014 and onward, they are our World Series. Yep. So we've kind of reversed it. There were some years where we were just battling back and forth, top teams in each league. Those days I wish were around again. But right now, the Dodgers again first place, and they've had memorable games. The Shanho Park Tim Belcher fight, the karate kick. You had that one that you're talking about with Maybin. I remember the Angels had no hit the Dodgers and lost 1-0. So there's all sorts of games like that between these two that have been pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. I think I think we split with them last year, and then in the COVID year, which didn't count, we got swept. So I hope that doesn't happen this year. I hope we get back at them this year with 2 games.
Didn't we get swept by them the first series?
Yes, this year, yeah, we got swept but we play, and it's weird because that was in the middle of the losing streak or towards the tail end, and the Dodgers, they were expected to mash us, and we actually played them pretty good. We just didn't score. Yeah,
we lost 0-2 game 1, and then lost 1-4.
Yeah.
But they're always fun games. Go out there. Those are the one games I will encourage you to go out there. Go out there, wear your red, and show those pony boys who's boss.
Yeah, if you're
ever hear. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're a young listener and you haven't experienced a playoff game, that's probably the closest you'll be to a playoff game is versus Dodgers.
Yeah, we're talking EJT.
Yeah, Mateo too, dude, because Mateo's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're a good time, man. I mean, it's fun whenever we do win, and typically they're at least close games. The last couple of years have been kind of rough, so we owned the Dodgers up until like the last 2 years, where they're starting to catch up a little bit.
Yeah,
but those games are definitely worth checking out.
I think we had something at one point like a 15 games over 500 versus the Dodgers. So I think they've closed the gap a little bit, like you said. So hopefully we can get that back going again, because, like you said, it didn't matter the record. When we play them hard. Like there are World Series, there are Yankees, and I'm hoping for good things, because I'd like to close out what was a promising start and to a dreadful first half. So we'll see.
So, since this is probably our last episode before the All-Star break, I don't know if we're going to do a Dodgers episode or not.
We'll cover it afterwards, probably like on Monday.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think's really gone on this first half? So try to break it down. I mean, yes, it's coaching. Yes, it's injuries. But what do you think's really the underlying issue here? Take a second to think about it if you have to. But
I would have to go with the same theme. Now, first, as one B on this one, I would say like how you brought up the bullpen being revamped and just retooled and looking like such like a juggernaut. I think the misuse of them, and also the key injuries that we've seen here and there to certain guys like Bradley not staying healthy for the most part through the first half. You had what happened with Austin Warren. I mean, they've had guys who have been surprises like Wantz and a few others. Quejeda's been pitching good. When that bullpen's all together, they're pretty damn scary. So I like them, but they've had their issues, that helped us lose some of these games. But I would have to say, overwhelmingly to me, not following a scouting report, no in-game adjustments, terrible approaches at the plate, being either ultra conservative, which is standing like Stassi the statue, and taking pitches down the middle, like a lot of these guys have. Just not changing approaches. Walsh not hitting the outside pitch. Marsh not, swinging at everything. Guys like Trout swinging at pitches head high. I mean, the Angels can't lay off the high heat. So none of that's been changed. I think that is the biggest thing, because there's been so many games, Fernando, where they've lost 2-1, 2-0, 3-1, where just a hit here, a hit there, and they win these games. There is no excuse, bro, for them to lead the league in strikeouts and to be routinely striking out 10 times a game. You cannot win like that, bro. They had 20 strikeouts in one game against Houston out of 27 possible outs. You just can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so obvious that this team is in such a mental rut. Like, it's obvious that when they're down 2-0, the starting pitcher, whoever's in the bullpen at that time, is flat. Their shoulders are down. They're going through the motions. They're not changing their mentality. The pitching coach, Matt Wise isn't coming out to have conversation with these guys. And I mean, and even when he does, it doesn't seem like they're meaningful conversations, because the guys aren't getting that third out. And dude, it's been like that the last 8 years. With 2 outs, it's almost like we're back to no outs. You get what I mean?
Yep.
Like, if we have 2 outs, you might as well not have any, because they're so flat with 2 outs. It's like climbing a mountain.
Or my favorite, Fernando, what about when it's 0-2 in the count, and they're instead of throwing a pitch down and away or something to get the guy to chase, you're throwing something right over the middle.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Raisel Iglesias. Or it's like, okay, or Raisel will have 2 strikes. All right, I'm going to throw 4 straight sliders out of the zone. Yeah. Slider. Oh, ball 4. Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's a catcher decision, because as we know, this isn't the social ball to where he's calling every pitch. It's basically the catchers have a scouting report on the wrist, and I guess they're calling it. Or they're radioing it in, however they do it nowadays.
Yeah, right. Who knows? The Illuminati helps. That's how they do it.
Well, I'll throw that question right back at you, because that was a great question. I mean, what do you think's responsible for this team being the way they are too?
I think it's just mental ruts, overthinking, trying to do too much. They overcorrect themselves, or, it's unfair to assume that these guys don't care. We like to say they don't care. We like to say Rendon doesn't care. I'm going to give this entire team and coaching staff the benefit of the doubt for a second,
okay.
Because our top-notch on-field reporting always talks about like, oh, I talked to Shohei Ohtani today. He was in high spirits. Okay, great. So how was he in high spirits after going well, I guess I shouldn't say Shohei Ohtani. Max Stassi, how was he in high spirits after going 0 for 263? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I get you.
Yeah, so I honestly, I just think it's the mental rut of everything. I think it's okay, well, we're down 1-0 in the second inning. This game's over. Why? Because we're not scoring runs. Or, okay, hey, there's a runner on first base. There's one out, runner on first. All right, I'm going to try to hit a 6-run home run. You're like, that's not how this game works. So, like, 6-run home run.
Yeah, I mean, one guy I think that would fit in great with this network is Mark Langston. What you're saying is what he's been preaching. Like, he's like, back in my day, these guys strike out way too much. They would start to choke up on their bats. They're actually pissed off when they strike out. He's like, striking out has become too much part of the game. And he's like, if I were coaching these guys, I'd be telling them to choke up on 2 strikes, protect the plate. It's like, damn, that's like easy advice that I don't know if it's reaching these players or that they're willing to do it. One of the two, because they seem not to be doing the little stuff that can get you the W's. Like today, during today's game, they actually bunted today and were able to move a runner into scoring position, which was shocking.
Dang it. I didn't see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, Brandon Marsh, and that's another thing about Brandon Marsh, bro. So Brandon Marsh is second on the team in strikeouts. Well, he's probably passed Mike Trout since he hasn't played the last couple of games. But he was only 1 strikeout behind Mike Trout, and Brandon Marsh doesn't play every day. Yeah. And there was a string of 97 at bats that Brandon Marsh had where he struck out 53 times out of the 97 at bats.
Yeah. So how has your opinion on Brandon Marsh changed over the last, month and a half here? He started off the year really good. His defense was great. His defense is still fine, but his productive at bats are not as productive lately.
I would have to say this because I was having a discussion with a friend and a couple people on the post game. I'm actually under the impression that how they keep sending Adele down and they haven't sent Marsh down, which I think maybe he needed some retooling. But what I'm starting to feel is I think it's an organizational thing. Like maybe Adele's not the home run guy that we've championed him to be. He's not Mike Trout 2.0. Maybe he's a guy that just rips doubles. Maybe he's more of like a Garrett Anderson, got to make contact, be smarter. Because when I've seen at bats when he's actually choking up or he's trying to be more defensive around the plate, not over swinging, taking those home run hacks, he looks good in the box. I think when he's trying to just rip the 2-run homer all the time, he looks pretty terrible. So I think when he lets things come to him, he's a better hitter. And I think that's the same thing for Marsh. Marsh is like swinging for the fences, and there's no need for that. I think he needs to be more of the slap the ball hitter, like we've talked about. Like I thought he was going to be like a Darren Erstad type dude. He's not hitting like that at all.
Yeah, a guy like Brandon Marsh is a guy who I'd like to see as a prototypical number 1 leadoff hitter, or I'd like to see him as a number 9 guy, kind of what we get out of David Fletcher to flip the lineup over. That's kind of the role that Brandon Marsh fits best. He's a speedy guy. He can get extra bases, and he is very, very capable of having good at-bats, productive at-bats, having a lengthy at-bat. And that's the kind of stuff you want to see out of a leadoff guy. Are the Angels improperly using him? Yeah, a little bit. But, that's only so much as an excuse. We say that all the time, like, oh, well, this guy should be lower or higher in the lineup. But at the end of the day, you are still a major league hitter, let alone a major league hitter who's still expendable. You can still go down to AAA. The team doesn't need you. You're not Mike Trout. Yes, you're up here because you're expected to have productive at-bats, but, you are, in theory, because you're so young, easily replaceable. You know what I mean? They could get that out of Juan Lagares, clearly.
Yeah, right.
Psych. You got DFA'd.
He's still on pace for 0 RBIs, by the way. But
hey, there you go.
But let me ask you this question: if you agree,
same amount of RBIs as Fast Time Under the Halo. Love you, brother.
There you go. but Fast Time's War is better though. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. How about his graphics above replacement?
There you go. Yeah, Lagares can't touch that for sure.
Yeah, 0 copyright infringement so far.
But let me ask you this, bro. When it comes to the way that the Angels are, and here's my theory on it. I want to get yours on it first, actually. But do you think the way that the Angels are hitting and the way that they've been in a tremendous slump, it's not just been the number one guy all the way down. I mean, you could see. I mean, Trout's batting only 260. We all know he's not a 260 hitter. Ohtani's not a 253 hitter. Well, okay, I'll give you that. But my thing is, it's got to be the coaching, because if I saw a few guys slump, I get it. Okay, half the lineup's good, half the lineup sucks, and they'll work with those guys. Or maybe these guys go through a stretch where they stink, and then all of a sudden they get better because they've switched something up. Do you think, bro, in your opinion, that the coaching staff has tried to help these guys on an individual basis to get them going?
I'm going to give the coaching staff something I normally don't do, give them the benefit of the doubt. But at the end of the day, these are major league hitters. So, and pitchers, for that matter of fact. So, I think a lot of these guys are kind of stuck in their ways. Some guys respond to certain coaches very well, and some of them don't. I've had my fair share of conversation with players in the organization. And, I've asked about multiple coaches that have been in there. I've gotten some really interesting information, some things I was right about. For instance, like some preconceived notions I had about the type of guy that Mike Scioscia was. I learned the kind of guy he was, and it was exactly what I thought. And then I asked, hey, how about Joe Madden? And I got the exact information I expected. What you see with these managers is what you get. There's no they're a completely different person. No. Scioscia is exactly what you think Scioscia is. Joe Madden is exactly what you think Joe Madden is. A guy who's probably sitting in the dugout or at least in the clubhouse in his boxers while he smokes the devil's lettuce. That's exactly who Joe Madden is. You know what I mean?
With his mystery van.
There's no mystery about it. You just don't want to go in there. There's no candy. I'll tell you that much. Kids, there's no candy in there. Don't go in.
There's stains that we cannot talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about it. That's why we have our own network.
Oh, that's right. There you go.
Yeah, right. Make sure to subscribe to HelloFresh. On that note, yeah. So you know what? Let's get into the Shohei Ohtani topic. You okay with that?
Ohtani. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And Todd just climaxed on the screen. That's why I got all fuzzy where the palm trees are.
And that's what I was talking about in Joe's van. Wink, wink.
Ooh, there it is. He's the, I love me that red wine.
Hi-yo.
Yeah. Oh, Roger. Okay. All right. So Shohei Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have a little over 2 weeks until the trade deadline. Trade deadline this year is August 2nd, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Okay. So where we currently sit, you are the general manager of the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Do you trade Shohei Ohtani? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Well, like that ESPN article came out, they threw in 3 top-notch pitchers from the Dodger organization plus Trey Turner. Now, if Trey Turner's signed and they added Gavin Lux to that, along with Urias and with I think it was May and another quality pitcher, I would have to say yes. Because you'd fill the infield spots, you get 3 good starters. You could also flip to somebody else like a Syndergaard and a Lorenzen who are on 1-year deals. But unless you get a king's ransom like that, including like maybe a draft pick or another minor leaguer, it's really hard to trade Ohtani because 50% of me, and I know a lot of fans are going to be upset, 50% of me says yes, pull the trigger. And then the other 50% is telling me don't, because he's a once-in-a-generational guy. He's a starting pitcher that looks like on the cusp he's going to win at least 16 or 17 games this year. His hitting will get better, so he should finish it with about at least 30 home runs, maybe about 80 RBIs, and about a 260 average. So not bad. This is a guy that's, great numbers. But where did it get us? And I think that's, as Angel fans, you got to think long-term. You got to think what's on the chest. How many times is he going to put up the numbers and then not get us to the playoffs? And it's not on him, because I brought this out in the post game. This isn't like basketball where you could sit there and do a Kobe and Shaq and the rest of the guys can stand around and watch him win. We can't do that with Ohtani and Trout.
Hell,
So,
I mean, for the longest time, you just got LeBron on a team and a bunch of scrubs, and they were making the finals. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So, that's just how basketball is. You can have one mega superstar and compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could be in like the top 4 seeds or better, So,
Yeah.
but with baseball, you need a complete team. You need to build around these guys. And I just feel, bro, that in my heart of hearts, I would love him to stay. But if you're going to give him $400 million like he wants, or even 350, you're looking at his contract, you're looking at Trout's contract, you're looking at Rendon's contract, and with Artie's past of not going over the salary cap and not paying out the penalties, you're only going to have so much to blanket the rest of the team with and fill in the voids. And what are we going to be doing? Getting more these designated for assignment players, 1-year deals?
Yeah, there's no way that we can field a competitive team with Rendon, Trout, and Ohtani all making over $30 million. And in Ohtani's case, most likely over $40 million.
That'll be $100 million, which is probably more than about 10 teams in baseball, their entire payroll. I mean,
we're talking about those 3 players' contracts combined being roughly $1 billion. That's no exaggeration.
Yep.
We're talking about 3 baseball players that are going to be worth about $1 billion.
Yep.
That would make it, and realistically, eventually those contracts will fail us. At the only thing I can think of is, by the time that Mike Trout's contract isn't worth it anymore, hopefully by then we already got the production we wanted out of him. At 37, 38, we just want Mike Trout to go out there, sign some autograph for the kids, wave his little hand and be like, I love the Angels. That's what you want out of him his last 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rendon, we're hoping to get something out of him because we haven't gotten anything right now. We've gotten more from Rally Chris than we've gotten out of Anthony Rendon on the field. Okay?
By the way, it's his birthday coming up here soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I saw multiple times on his Twitter.
Big DJ party.
Yeah, there you go. But and that's going to be probably the case eventually with Shohei Ohtani. Hopefully by then we maybe have a World Series to go off of, but at the rate we're going right now, who are we kidding? So I'm right there with you, buddy. I believe it or not, I have a little bit of Halo honk in me. I try not to tell people about it.
You let it come out a little bit here and there. I know, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's like somebody with like a secret addiction or something. Like,
I see you honking your honk every now and then secretly.
Yeah, honk, honk, show me your honks. as Todd likes to tell the kids.
Oh no! Come on, man! Come on.
Well, I mean, like kids as a vague term, not like children.
I'd be arrested if I did that.
Yeah. Yes, no, I understand. I meant to more like
I'd have an ankle bracelet as we speak.
Yeah, right. All of a sudden, you like the FBI just smashes in your door.
What's on your computer?
Oh, just a pissed off Angels fan again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but like I was saying, yeah, I do have a little bit of Halo honk in me. So Hannah from the PR department, if you're listening, trust me, I have a little bit of Halo honk in me. Okay. But what I'm not going to do is seek approval in the form of going on a field. We have no problem getting these interviews, Hannah. So if you're listening, just let us on the field. About that, really, I mean, Todd, I live in Texas now. So let Todd on the field. He's got some tough questions to ask in a loving and good way. Okay. Exactly. We're going to book these interviews anyway. So you might as well just make it easier. We've got no problem.
Exactly. And I think I could give you more than just the Angels starting lineup without the pitcher, if you know what I mean.
Now you're just throwing shade. I don't condone this. But what I was saying.
You started it.
I don't start anything. I'm a man of God.
I finish it, baby. I'm a closer.
Oh, there you go. Here comes LeVar Ball. Here he is, LeVar Ball. Anyway, so like I've been trying to say. So yeah, half of me is very much like you. You give this man a blank check. Does he deserve a blank check? By all means. Mm-hmm. The more and more we see a healthy Shohei Ohtani, which I'm starting to really believe we didn't start seeing until last year. Yeah. 2018, remember, he was shut down, but he did have structural arm damage, and the teams were aware of this when they were offering him, a place to go. They knew that he was injured. So we never saw a healthy 2018 Shohei Ohtani. 2019, he had already undergone his Tommy John surgery, so he was just a DH. but he was going through Tommy John recovery. 2020, we obviously saw a horrible version of Shohei Ohtani, look like a single-A baseball player playing Major League Baseball. But once again, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. 2021, we saw what we got. This year, we are so far seeing a healthy Shohei Ohtani rebounding after a terrible start. You can't be hot forever. And he ended up last year really cold, right? He wasn't the batter that he was prior to the All-Star game. His pitching was fine. But now he's kind of corrected all that, and he's doing good on both fronts. But my point is, does he deserve a blank check? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But can this team afford to give it to him? Probably not, man.
And let me ask you this, bro, in the long run, let's just say, because we obviously know the catching has been a problem, obviously, but like I said with the Dodger trade, maybe it's not those particular two players, but maybe you get a fill-in, like a really good DH. You get let's just say they trade to Toronto and get Kirk, and they pick up a power hitter from Toronto, a couple pitchers, a bullpen guy. You fill in all these holes. Yes, you're not going to have Ohtani, the big name guy, but you can win. Would you rather have big names in that lineup or a team that can go out there with a 2002 esque team that could just get on base, that can make hits, that can? Because what do you think is going to get you more wins right now? Sticking with Ohtani, trying to build around these high payrolls, or if you shed at least one, maybe Rendon in a couple of years, maybe you're able to bring in more talent. You know what I mean? Because you can't replace the unicorn, but you can also always get a top-notch starter. You can get a top-notch DH.
I can't replace a unicorn with one player, but I might be able to replace a unicorn with 7 players.
There you go.
And that's just kind of the mindset, right? The fact of the matter is, will we field a competitive team with essentially 3 players and a bunch of scrubs?
Yep.
Guys, sure, we have David Fletcher. Sure, we had Jared Walsh, but we have those guys now. And where are we? Rendon is on the injured list. Rendon is just about always going to be on the injured list. And it's unfortunate. Nobody wants Rendon to succeed more than Angels fans. Yes, we make fun of him, but the fact of the matter is we need him to succeed. The team is better when we have this romanticized version of what Anthony Rendon is. Problem is, we haven't seen that guy since he was in Washington.
Yeah.
This version is a fake, this is like the cable version, like those commercials. This is you with DirecTV. This is you with cable. All we've seen is the cable version of Rendon. Hell, all we've seen is the Larry the Cable Guy version of Rendon. And the fact of the matter is the depth that we had to start this year no longer exists, because now we're having to use guys like Velasquez. We, DFA'd and then proceeded to trade Tyler Wade back to the Yankees. These were guys that shouldn't be getting tons of playing time, yet they are, because there was no depth in this team.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think they never filled those gaps when we had them. Yep. There's gaps that are clear there that the Angels needed to fix. And I think if we're to blame Perry for anything, because I still have given him more the benefit of the doubt than the coaches. But if I'm going to blame him for something, it's like not filling that bench with capable players, not getting a backup catcher, or not even getting a starting catcher.
Hey, we got Kurt Suzuki.
Again, not even getting a backup catcher, because look, Stassi, we gave him that 3-year deal, and I think he's a great backup catcher. Or not great, I'll take that back. He's a good, serviceable backup catcher. I don't think he's a starter. He's been proven not to start. I think that's a massive hole that obviously, with all the things Perry needs to do, he didn't address this offseason, and he's got to address this new upcoming season, where I think it's got to be a trade. I really don't see them being able to pluck a free agent. I think getting a good, reliable, younger catcher would be amazing for this franchise.
Yeah, the problem is that next year there's not exactly a lot of catchers that are on the market. We talked about this in the past, which is why they had to go with re-signing a guy like Max Stassi. I just don't exactly know where they can go with that position. It's just such a thin position.
It is. It's. I think between that position and shortstop, I think is probably the 2 hardest positions to fill in baseball. And it's so thin, like you said, the talent. Or a guy like Maldonado who could hit 140. His value, his defense is not like Squid. He touches the ball every time. the way he throws guys out, the way he calls and frames and everything else like that. He's the reason, why he's still got a job, because he's so goddamn good defensively. But the Angels, it's apparent they need a catcher that can hit, and we just don't have one.
And here's the thing, man. Max Stassi is also an elite defensive catcher. Oh, you know what? I won't say elite. He's an above-average defensive catcher.
Yeah, he's decent.
And we see some elite defense at times. We see flashes of it.
Mm-hmm.
Could he eventually get a Gold Glove? Maybe. But the problem with Max Stassi is that he's never fully healthy. He gets injured a lot. Look at Martin Maldonado. He's fairly healthy throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
So he's free agent catchers. Martin Maldonado is expected to be a free agent catcher next year. It has Yadier Molina listed, but he's going to retire. He already announced that.
Yeah.
Wilson Contreras, Gary Sanchez, Roberto Perez, Martin Maldonado, Omar Narvaez, Christian Vasquez is probably the biggest name there. Tucker Barnhart, Austin Hedges, Jason Castro, Mike Zunino. And then I probably start to lose you. Kurt Casilli, Kevin Polacki, Kurt Suzuki, Sandy Leon. Yeah, you start to get down to Juan Gratterall, our old friend. Yeah. So, it drops off quick.
Well, there's only three guys that you mentioned right there that I would actually take a flyer at. Zeno, right? Or how you say Mike, whatever.
Mike Zunino.
Zunino, there you go. Like, he hits a lot of home runs, but he unfortunately strikes out a lot, and he has a terrible batting average. Contreras, I would have said 2 years ago that would have been a nice fit. The other catcher that you mentioned, God damn it, you just had him on my. How is Sanchez doing this year? I know he's on the Yankees, but is he doing okay? Because
Gary Sanchez was traded to the Twins.
Okay, is he doing all right with the Twins? Because that would be a guy I would probably shoot some money at. If I were going to shoot a money at any free agent catcher, I'd probably go after him. I know he's not the smartest base runner and stuff like that, but he can produce.
Yeah, give me a second here, waiting for this to load. Yeah, Gary Sanchez has been, consistent for his career. I'm not going to say that he's an elite player in terms of with the bat, but he gets the job done defensively. He's a career 228 hitter, so he's not a great hitter. He's currently batting 217 with the .5 WAR, 10 home runs, 27 runs, and 36 RBIs. Okay. So not great numbers by any stretch of the imagination. No. But, is he consistent? Here's the thing. So dating back to, we'll say 26, not even 2016. Actually, yeah. So 2016, he played 53 games. In 17, he played 122 games. Then 89, 106, 49. Obviously, that was because of COVID. And then he played 117 games last year, and he's currently played 68 games. So at least he's overall playing a decent amount of games. The Angels are probably going to have to get a platoon piece for next year because Kurt Suzuki isn't cutting it. And, I was listening to Super Halo Bros maybe a couple weeks ago now, and they were talking about Kurt Suzuki is worth playing right now over Max Stassi. And, I actually like a lot of the times what they have to say. I think they're doing much better in their role as Locked On Angels, but I completely disagree with what they said there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the best of Kurt probably in the 2019 World Series. So we're 3 years.
When he was on the bench, you mean?
Yeah, or Nationals.
Yeah, when he was on the bench.
Oh, okay, yeah, exactly. And he didn't do all that great then. So, I just look. Kurt Suzuki. Well, actually, you know what? The best of him was in Oakland, if I remember right. Yeah, he was better in Oakland. That again, we've touched on this plenty of times. This dude was a shock when he signed. I think it was you or Randy sent me the link that, hey, we re-signed Suzuki. I'm like, well, is that a flashback from last year? Is that one of those on my memories type thing? So it's like, it's terrible, man. I mean, they've tried Theis down in the minors. We've given Wallach a look at, but there has to be better options out there for us.
Yeah, I would honestly, in my perfect world, I would DFA Kurt Suzuki because you know what you're going to get out of him. He's past his prime, and sure, is he teaching some of these pitchers something they didn't already know? Maybe. At the end of the day, we're not involved in those conversations. Mm-hmm. I'm not on the field. I'm not a fly on the wall. I'm not on the field giving lineups.
Thanks,
but what yeah, thank you, Hannah.
She got back. She said she'd circle back. So
Yeah, one day.
But go ahead. You're
One
not on the
day.
field. You're not on the field.
I wish I was. I will admit I'm jealous about that. But what I will say here is the fact that, we don't know what goes on in those conversations.
Mhm.
Maybe Kurt Suzuki really is good for the young guys. Maybe he helps the defense. Maybe he's good with shit. I don't know. But there had to have been a reason why they gave him a shot, right? There has to be more than what we know. I understand it's a 1-year deal, great, but I mean, there was better options than Kurt Suzuki as a backup.
Oh yeah, there was better options. And just like at shortstop, I mean, this was the offseason where me and you looked at it and we were like, hey, this is a shortstop of free agency. I mean, we can get whoever we want right now.
Yeah, this was our Roger Lodge.
Yeah, pretty much. Me and you were salivating, doing whatever he does in that room of his with James looking down on him. But yeah, we figured, like we were going to get a good shortstop, and then we didn't get nothing out of it. And then look at our boy.
Hey, we got Tyler Wade.
Look at our boy Iglesias, bro, over there in Colorado. He's doing a great job, you know.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, right.
You're a genius or a jackass.
That's where I think the coach is coming to play, because when you see a guy hit better before he comes here, sucks when he's here, and then goes somewhere else and takes off again, you're like, there's something to that.
Exactly. So as far as next year, potential shortstops on the free agent market.
Okay.
So I know Carlos Correa has an opt-out with the Twins. So that's a possibility if he decides to opt out of his contract, which I don't see why he wouldn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For the simple fact of he would be pretty alone here. So his only other competition for a big contract would be Trey Turner.
Okay.
So Trey Turner is going to be 29 years old. He's currently getting $21 million right now with the Dodgers. He's expected to get 32 a year.
Oof.
That's what his projected market value is. Honestly, I could probably see him re-signing with the Dodgers, as much as that pains me to say.
I think you're right.
I mean, the fact of the matter that a lot of us need to remember also is the fact that a lot of teams just got big name shortstops. They just got in these big long-term commitments. So it's going to be Carlos Correa and Trey Turner.
I don't see Artie throwing. I mean, with Ohtani on the loom, unless they're going to trade Ohtani, then those guys become viable. But I would really go after Turner if I were the Angels, man. And if you could land him here, because we've talked about that too. He's the prototypical hitter that you need to change the culture on this team. That he'll get on base. He's fast around the bases when he's on. He's a smart hitter. He doesn't go for the home run all the time. He's just trying to get the ball put in play, and that's what you need on this freaking team. And if that can wear off on the rest of these losers out there, I mean, this would be an amazing lineup. That's what you got to do. So, man, if they were able to sign him, that'd be amazing. But I tend to side with you. I think he might go back to the Dodgers because I think Justin Turner's in the final year of his deal, and they're going to need a player on that left side of the infield because Turner's going to wind up leaving.
Yeah, well, he's old too.
Yeah.
So aside from Trey Turner and the potential Carlos Correa, you have Didi Gregorius. He's getting $15 million right now with Philly. Dansby Swanson, he's getting 10 right now with Atlanta. He's projected to get about 22 next year. And those numbers are as of right now. Yeah, he might be a decent option. He is 28 years old. He'll be, I think, 29 at that time.
It's the perfect age, I think.
Yeah, so kind of depends on, what happens there, really. I mean, that might be somebody to look at. Yeah. Your boy Jose Iglesias will be there. Aldemaiz Diaz.
Is that the dude from Milwaukee?
No, it's the dude from Houston.
Oh, from Houston. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Andrelton Simmons.
No, I don't think
who's having a bad offensive year, historically bad. He's batting like 210.
Oh, damn.
But he's only getting $4 million. Honestly, for $4 million, especially because you'll probably get a little less, I wouldn't mind having Simmons for his glove alone. I don't mind having one guy who's here defensively. Here's the thing. When Andrelton Simmons hit a home run, he didn't pimp a home run like he's squid. Squiddy poo. I think the only time I ever saw Andrelton Simmons pimp a home run is when he fell to his knee against the Astros and hit that home run on one knee. But that's an excuse to pimp a home run.
Oh, that's a hell of a hit. Yeah. I mean, like the thing I appreciated about Simmons is not only his leadership, but the fact that, he got the hits and he would beat out ground balls into the hole and, and he'd get on base. He was a smart base runner too. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind going down that road again if we had to get a backup infielder to play either short or second base for sure.
Yeah, and it's a real shame, man. I really wanted Andrelton Simmons to sustain his offensive success because, Andrelton Simmons is one of the exceptions. We like to joke around a lot that guys come here and then just kind of fade into irrelevancy. Andrelton Simmons was kind of the exception. He was a bad offensive player. Not defensive. Defensive, he was always elite. He was a bad offensive player when he came here from the Braves, or at least average. He then turned out to raise his offensive stock here in Anaheim, and then left to Minnesota and is kind of tanked since he went to the Cubs offensively.
Yeah.
But there was a time period here where he was batting 270 to 300.
Yeah, he was doing really, really good. So
he batted cleanup a couple times.
didn't he make an all-star appearance with us as well?
He did not. He got snubbed.
Oh, that's right. He got snubbed.
But he got snubbed in 2017. That was the year that Trout was injured, did not play, but got elected as a starter. So the Angels did not technically have a representative at the 2017 All-Star game, but it was technically Mike Trout, even though he was at Inland Empire playing with the 66ers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It should have been Simmons, though.
Yeah, I knew Simmons had one year where he was just like breaking out with us. He was doing really good. So.
Yeah, he was batting like 285 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I would waste your time talking about the other shortstops, but really, why am I going to throw Franklin Barretto's name on there? And then Jonathan Villar is we have on our team, but he's technically on that list. So it's a very thin shortstop market.
I think it would come down to we want Turner, but we're going to wind up with Swanson type deal. If best case scenario, I wouldn't mind.
You know what? And there's nothing wrong with that, man. The Angels need to stop trying to go for the sexy name. I said that this offseason. And, they didn't go for the sexy name this offseason, which is good. Unfortunately, they didn't get any depth either. So, they need to not go for the sexy name and start going for the right name. I really wanted them to go after a guy like Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor is not having a great season right now either. He's only batting 238 with 6 home runs through 252 at-bats, but he does have a .6 WAR.
Wait, for the Dodgers, Chris Taylor?
Yep.
Holy shit, because last year I know he was one of those guys that I was looking at last year and even the year before as a guy that would be great on the Angels because he just takes so many pitches. He's got a smart eye. I've seen him what did he have, 15 pitch at bat where he doubled into the gap and all that for the Dodgers. So he had a really good season last year, but man, he's fallen off this year after getting that big contract.
Yeah, absolutely. That tends to be the case though, doesn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it comes down when guys get these big contracts, two of three things happen. Obviously the number one thing is they continue their career, they continue to mash, and they continue to be excellent. But that's few and
like
far.
Albert Pujols here in Anaheim.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, we know that.
Josh Hamilton,
Yeah, they clearly had their better years here. But when it comes to the other two reasons, it's usually either too much pressure. And they're pinching themselves trying to get up there, and they're pressing too much, and they have bad seasons. And usually, into year 2, year 3, they kick it up a notch again, or they get the money and run and just sort of just play it out and be like, it is what it is. I don't have to come out here and get that Rendon mentality.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
yeah. A guy who I wanted to get was Jonathan India, but right now he's having a not so great season. He did win the Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. Right now, his WAR is -1 game. He's batting 222 with only 14 RBIs and 2 stolen bases. And he's got a sample size of 37 games. But last year in 150 games, he had 98 runs, 143 hits, 21 home runs, 69 RBIs, and he batted 269 with an on-base percentage of 376.
Wow.
And by the way, also provided pretty average defense. So that's kind of what I wanted originally. And right now, and he got a WAR of almost 4 last year?
Yeah. Yeah, he was up there, dude. He was one of the best. Let me ask you a question. Since you brought up Simmons and a former Angel, and we brought up Iglesias,
Okay.
what would you do? Because this guy has been consistent when he was here briefly, and then when he's gone to the other places he's played. Would you, if you could not go for Dansby Swanson, Turner, players like that, and you really had to either make a trade? Because I don't know if he's a free agent or he's not a free agent. You would have mentioned him, but if you had to make a trade, what about bringing back a guy who was no nonsense, Mr. Contact hitter, just went about his business and did his thing, Gene Segura?
I was hoping you were going to say someone like who's retired, like Sean Figgins. I was like, yeah, I guess we can ask him to come back.
Or like my dad would call him, that Choney is really good.
That Choney?
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so I'm looking at Gene Segura's numbers right now. So he's currently got a WAR of 1.1. Which is wins above replacement. In case anyone is there, like, what's WAR? So yeah, that's your amount of wins over the average player. Literally, average is 0. So so in 167 at bats, he's got 6 home runs and he's got a batting average of 275 with a 324 on base percentage, which is pretty good. And that's on top of a career on base percentage of 329.
Yep. He's been Mr. Consistent since he left us.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't here that long, right? He was only here for about 45 games.
Yeah, he came through the system, and then we kind of showcased him, and then we dealt him.
Yeah, he batted 258 that year with the non-base percentage of 315. Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to take a flyer on him for sure. He is currently injured on a 60-day injured list, so he'd have to definitely be a off-season move.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he probably won't be back until after the trade deadline.
Because he just reminds me of Orlando Cabrera, very consistent. He'll give you an occasional pop, but, he's a doubles type hitter, singles guy, and just plays hella good defense. And I think he would fit right back in with us, if we had to go with a what is it called, a solution like that.
Yeah, so he is he has the ability to be a free agent next year. He's got a 2023 club option for $17 million.
Oh, I doubt they'll pay that.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think the Phillies are going to look to add players, but not, older players, not a re-up on contracts. So.
Yeah, he's got a $14.2 million payout this year. But yeah, he's expected to be a free agent in 2024, assuming he doesn't get his contract picked up. They do owe him $1 million on that buyout.
Okay.
But he does have a full no trade clause.
I see.
So would he want to come back to the team that dealt him?
That's the other thing. Yeah, he might have animosity. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe that's something they explore in 2 years. But, who really knows anymore with this team, man? Who really knows?
And what's Segura's age? Isn't he like 31, 32, something like that?
He's 32.
Yeah, 32. So that's not a bad age because usually your prime.
He'll be almost 33, though, by the time the offseason rolls around.
Okay, because between 28 and 33, 34 usually is when you want to get a guy because usually that's when they're in their prime.
Yeah.
But
for the record, it doesn't get much better at shortstop in 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, Brandon Crawford's your top guy at that stage.
And he's old right now.
He'll be like 39.
It seems like he's been with a team like 20 years already, dude.
Yeah, he has. I thought he retired like 15 times.
It seems like he was there the last time the Giants won the World Series versus the Angels.
Oh, I thought you were going to say when they won the World Series. I'm pretty sure he was there the last time they won the World Series. But yeah, not in 2002 when they lost. No.
He was a rookie back then.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so it doesn't get much better, man. I don't exactly know what – I mean, hopefully by 2024, we're talking about a situation where the Angels, have developed Jeremiah Jackson by then.
Yeah, that would be the way to go.
I kind of want to see them try to make a trade for Jazz Chisholm. I know there was a lot of talk about Rocky Waters, if you will, with the Marlins and him wanting a trade. So I was kind of hoping that they'd go after a guy like that. Maybe they can get him a little cheaper, but who knows? Especially because the Marlins are actually not doing too bad right now.
He would, I'm telling you, you bring him in there, he would change the culture of this club. He would automatically be your spokesman. Yep. He would automatically do all the things we wanted Trout to do and then some. And he would bring some flair. I mean, I would do it. I mean, he wouldn't be the whole like, oh, he's Hollywood because he's LA, because we're not LA. Let's just be honest. But the fact that he's in SoCal, I think he would bring so much flavor to this team. I'm with you. I would love that dude to be somewhere in this lineup somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what they'd have to do to get him.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, I could see a situation where that trade would be valuable to us. I think he would really help out this organization because the problems that we have here are much deeper than, just X's and O's or, 1 through 9 in a lineup. It's definitely a cultural thing, right? We're starting to get to the stage now where like these young guys are getting opportunities. I mean, in the 2 days that we've seen Joe Adele since he's gotten called up, he's kind of brings that fire and that swagger. It's almost like a Jazz Chisholm type of guy. It's Joe Adele's very let the kids play. And so is Brandon Marsh to an extent. So, hopefully if the team is able to have more guys like that, maybe the team will be looser. Maybe they'll have a little bit more fun. Yes, you need almost like a dictator in the clubhouse, kind of like Phil Nevin. Mm-hmm. But, these players also need to be able to have fun amongst themselves or it's just not going to work out. And if you don't believe me, how's the last 8 years gone for us?
Agreed. I think when things were rolling good under Sosha, he just had the key word that we've been missing on this franchise for a long time, and that's balance. The guys, like you said, were able to act a fool at times, but then they knew what they had to do, and they had gamers in there. Like for me, like a Jose Abreu, when he was here, you had you had him, and then you had Torrey Hunter, guys that could be on opposite ends of the spectrum, be teachers, and then you had guys that were celebrating throwing little guys like Eckstein or Fletcher into the water bucket or Ibar. Stuff like that. I mean, just joking around. I think you just don't have the right mix in this organization right now.
Yeah, and we've talked ad nauseum about the issues in the organization, and that's one of the biggest reasons why Hannah won't respond to our email. But I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into it because I don't want to get depressed a couple hours before I go to bed, nor do you. Yeah. But I mean, let's think. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've had an issue with, guys abusing substances due to, bad doctoring in the organization, right? We had a doctor who's failed multiple drug tests and went to rehab multiple times, distributing prescription drugs. We had guys doing cocaine in the bathrooms of the dugout or in the clubhouse. You know what I mean? So things like this clearly spill onto the field. Yeah. Clearly. And I don't mean that as a negative. I don't mean that as a shot to anybody who does have any kind of addiction. Addiction's a very serious thing. I would never joke about something like that. But what I'm saying is it clearly translates in negative fashions onto the field, and we continue to see it.
Yeah. And it's only going to get worse unless it's stopped. So it's just going to be one of those things, man. So, I mean, like, the organization needs to be revamped. I mean, after all the bad publicity on top of it, dude.
Yeah, and it's not getting any better either. That publicity is getting worse.
Yeah, there's now city and federal charges coming that way too. So, or at least the apparent federal charges that could be coming.
Yeah, that's why they don't want to let us on the field.
Yes.
They're going to ask about that. Hannah, all I want to ask Perry is if he knew that Patrick Sandoval and, some of these Billy Epler guys were going to be, good.
I think those are still too rough around the edges questions. So
yeah, probably. The only reason I'm throwing that out there is because if anybody else asks that question, I can call fraud alert.
Because all we could do basically right now is maybe sit in those recliners if we had those on-field things, just to take a picture, selfie, and then maybe announce the starting lineup without the pitcher and not the opponents.
Maybe what I could do is do what that one dude did and try to harass Ohtani into dating my daughter, even though I don't have a daughter. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, so those $500,000 seats, where Scott Boras has a suite and everything, right there, I don't even call it. Yeah, I guess the dugout level.
Yeah.
I've sat down there before. Great seat. Actually, the seats are weird. They're good in terms of seeing, but you can't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
Because the way the walls are built, the sound goes over you. Oh, so shit. Really, all you can hear is the sound from the TV speaker and all that. Anyway, yeah, maybe we can just start doing that.
Yeah, good. We could
just get those seats and be like, "Hey, Ohtani." Ohtani.
What's going on with those guys in the first row? Oh,
We have like a paper bag with Roger Lodge's face on it. Can somebody do this? Can somebody do that?
that is perfect.
A paper bag. Go to Kinko's or whatever. I mean, who do people have printers at home these days?
No, it would be FedEx Kinko's, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, get Roger Lodge's face and just put it on the paper bag.
Awesome.
There you go. That idea is free, people. All right. I mean, I know we didn't talk too much about the Astros series, but is there anything to talk about? The Angels won again, great. But Ohtani was pitching. Ohtani upped his trade value or upped his apparent value in terms of dollars if he decides to sign here or go somewhere else.
Exactly. I mean, he's pitching lights out even against, and that's one of the best lineups in the league. So double-digit strikeouts, 4 straight games in a row. I mean, again, he's getting to a point where he's almost goddamn 2 strikeouts per inning. You know, he's averaging. He's like at 1.5 already. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, man. You know, he's a cream of the crop hitter and he's a cream of the crop pitcher, and he just continues to prove that. I mean, last year wasn't a fluke.
Exactly. And that's all we ever wanted from him. When you brought up the injury stuff that he went through a couple years ago, that's kind of a good thing too, which ups his value. The fact that you know that if you sign this guy, whether you're the Angels or anybody else, he's already gone through his arm issues. You know, like, so you're getting the best of the best from him.
Well, we both know that if he were to re-sign here, he'd have to get like a second Tommy John surgery, just because, like, whether he's hurt or not. They're like, well, we got to give you Tommy John surgery.
They're going to give him Tommy John in his non-throwing arm.
Oh, God. They're going to give him Tommy John in his leg. They're like, well, we've hit a new low.
Which leg would that be?
Yeah. Oh, Tony's third leg.
That a good old peg leg.
Oh, Tony's third leg. Boy, I love that one. It makes me even more money. Check out the Angels OnlyFans.
Dude, seriously, if he had an Angels only for Ohtani, oh my God.
Dude, that
would break the internet, bro.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about it. All I'm saying is that, you know, guys like Rally Chris might subscribe.
A grill master.
Oh, God. Big 20, don't think about it. You're not old enough.
Exactly.
I'm just
Stick to the dew, bro. The Mountain Dew.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I really like Big 20 Hammer.
Exactly.
God makes me laugh all the time when he calls in.
He's Spicoli 2.0, dude.
What's his mascot, you always say?
All the cheesecakes. But he says Tritons.
Yeah. What's a Triton?
I have no idea.
I know what a cheesecake is.
That makes more sense, actually.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. You got anything else?
I'm good, bro. I think we've screwed any chance that we had of getting on the field, but yes, I'm good.
Or ever having friends with anybody else?
Exactly.
Yeah. Whatever kind of alliances we had now, people just hate us. We're just trying to have fun in a really, really bad season. And I'm jealous, okay? I'm jealous. Is that what you want to hear? I'm jealous, Rox. I'm jealous. I'm not afraid to call out other shows. Rox in the outfield, I am jealous. No, but I'll tip my cap. I'll give the devil his due. That's all I got. That's all I got to say.
I have to agree. I mean, we wish we were on the field as well, man. I mean, what can we say? You know, we're a little bitter. I mean, look, it's one thing for them to be like, nah, you know what? We're gonna pass. You know, we don't want you guys on there. But to string us along, damn it, you strung us along, and then you're like, wait a minute, we got to know them, and we don't like them too much. When originally they were like, hey, we like you.
I can live with the sorry guys. You know what I mean? We're just kind of going in an opposite direction. I can live with that.
Yes.
There's closure behind that.
Yes.
You know, hey, you know, we see you, great. Okay. But when you invite us to a suite, proceed to say, here's my card. If you need anything from me, you let me know. And we have reached out multiple times and we've gotten nothing. Is this some displacement for members of my family? Sure. But maybe I'm putting it into this. Maybe I'm pissed off that I'm in Chicago.
Maybe this reminds me of a bad breakup where I never got closure and she never told me why she broke up with me. Maybe.
I wouldn't say all that, but
I might lean that way. I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. You're a happy man now.
Yes, I am.
Speak it into existence. But yeah, so we'll see what comes up in terms of episodes for us. I'm sure the next week will be kind of rocky. Tomorrow, so when you guys listen to this, I might already be recording with Taylor Blake Ward. I'll be releasing that episode maybe Monday morning because the draft is on Monday.
True.
So I'll release that episode on Monday where you guys can listen to it, and Taylor Blake Ward can give his predictions on what he thinks the Angels are going to do. We'll talk a little bit about the season and what happened. Todd may or may not join us, so if you don't hear his voice, it's because he had to work. But if you do hear his voice, it's because he was able to make it work. But aside from that, we still have that Ty Buttrey interview that we've been sitting on for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's already been done and recorded. I'll probably release that during the All-Star break. What do you think? Maybe like All-Star Day or the day after? Maybe the day after because there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's because we're not going to break down the All-Star game. Come on.
No, maybe I don't know. Who knows? that might be a talking point later. Real quick, Albert Pujols, is there any chance he wins that first round? He's going up against Kyle Schwarber, who's, I think, the major league leader right now in home runs.
I hope they put a bunch of kids in the infield so they could play too. They could turn two, because I'm pretty sure he's going to hit a lot of ground balls.
I don't know. Watch him just like go off. It'll be like Josh Hamilton at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, that would be so staged if he wins it, dude. Oh, my gosh.
That really let him take roids.
Yeah. Because I really want to see him in the All-Star game hit into a double play. I think that he should literally hit into a double play and then tip his cap to the fans.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be fitting.
Well, you got to get ready to do the post-game show, and they just brought in Raisel Iglesias in a tie game. So tune in. So at the time that you guys are listening, you already know what happened. Hopefully it's an Angels win. But as Todd said in the past, never bring in an Angels closer in a tie game.
Yeah, we're just asking for a loss right here. So
yeah, it almost never works out historically.
And so you would think they would learn from the other night, but I guess not.
No.
Yep.
In the words of Phil Nevin,
exactly.
But don't talk negative, or Erica Weston will get angry.
Exactly. Halo honks forever. Ride or die.
I've seen her get mad at people on Twitter. So don't say anything mean.
You got to ride your bike down Catella with a positive attitude. None of this bullshit.
Yeah, right. All right, Todd Lodge, send us off.
All right, well, this is Todd Fox from Halos in the Infield, and this has been another podcast. Hope you enjoyed. And the other co-host of the show,
Squid Loving Boy.
There you go. Take care.